God hasn't finished making Iceland yet. But he doesn't seem to mind that already the locals have started to play with it. Steam pours out of the ground. There are 200 active volcanoes here. Mud boils. This is where you'll find the town of Giza, the third biggest waterfall in the world, the biggest glacier in Europe. Neil Armstrong came here to train for his lunar walk, and I'd like to bet that after this, the moon was a bit of a letdown. This geological lunacy is matched by some of the laws and customs here. In Iceland, no one has a surname. There's no Icelandic word for please. Until very recently, beer was banned. There was no television on Thursdays. And perhaps strangest of all, road traffic laws applied everywhere. You could build a racetrack right here in the middle of nowhere, but it would be subjected to a 70 kph speed limit. Now that meant that this huge natural playground was a no-go area for motorsports. However, in 1981, the law was changed. This is what they came up with, off-road racing which defies belief and the laws of gravity. They build a course through the lava, not caring that some sections are completely vertical. Hey baby, I'm gonna pick you up. Naturally, things often go wrong, but no one has ever been killed, or even mildly mutilated, or even slightly drowned. This man had his car fixed in 10 minutes and went on to win the event. But this man is the championship leader. I can see that your heart's on fire. I'll take you to the other side, take you for a little ride.
It's a very awkward car to drive with the big bucket tyres and a Chevrolet 350 series engine developing between 700 and 900 brake horsepower. It has a device under the carburettor that sprays nitro into the engine, working off either a switch on the dashboard or when you put your foot flat on the throttle.
The crowds know, and they know that they can't get up some of the cliffs. So why do they try?
Sometimes you'll see a steep hill that you know you can't climb, but you'll try and just make the most of it. It's the country. We're not really mad. It's the land. It's there as a challenge. And you have to try and conquer it.
This is easily the most worrying thing I've ever done in my life. I'm alongside a complete madman who's going to drive me up a cliff in a 900 horsepower Jeep. You might wonder why I've got my hands underneath my bottom. Well, it's to stop them flying out if we roll over. It's also to keep things in. I am scared witless. Guy's taking the Michael. It's a joke! Ha ha! How are we staying up? This is impossible. No, 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 no. Oh, I want to be an accountant. If anybody's watching out there who is an accountant and wants to swap jobs, give me a ring anytime. He's not seriously going to drive down there. Surely to God he's not going to drive down there. Oh no, this is just a cliff face. That's straight down! Oh dear, my back's broken.
The first car arrived in Iceland in 1904, and when its engine conked out, its owner used to push it to the top of a hill and charge people for the privilege of rolling down in it. Stranger still, Iceland did once have a car factory, but it was a short-lived enterprise, and this is its only remaining product.
Pabbi var út í Bandaríkjunum, fékk skeyti frá postjóra.
In 1941, his father, already in the car repair business, arranged to buy 108 unassembled Dodgers, which were on their way from Sweden to America, but were stuck in Iceland because of the war. He built the factory and the cars in less than a year, but with no more kits, the project died. As did the cars as soon as they were exposed to the terrain and the weather. Iceland didn't really get motivated until it was introduced to the Willys Jeep. The newfangled four-wheel drive system opened up the middle bit of their extraordinary country, sort of Scotland on steroids. Four-wheel drive brought Iceland into the 20th century. It replaced the horse and enabled people to travel more easily. And with the boom in travel came the need for a transport ministry. Naturally, they needed someone to run it. So who did they get? This man, the president of the drag racing club.
What sort of roads do we have? I mean, there's Road 1, yes?
Yeah,
Where does that go?
around the country.
And what about Road 2?
There's none.
No Road 2?
No road 2.
Unnumbered tracks don't get tarmacked or named until the demand is there, but their idea of demand is rather different to ours.
Heavy traffic is depending on where you are, but on the countryside we would measure it by perhaps 100 cars per day.
100 cars a day? There can't be too many transport ministers or even assistant transport ministers in the world who've come and be interviewed in a Blue Lagoon.
Do you think so?
No, I don't think we get our transport minister out like that.
It's quite natural for us, yeah.
But is that a sign of it being rather an informal country?
Maybe it is, because here almost everybody knows everybody. And being a minister or working in a ministry doesn't mean that you stop knowing people.
So if I was in Iceland, I could ring you up and complain about a traffic jam or a road being bad or something like that.
Yeah, people do quite a lot of it.
God, I think we should introduce this in Britain.
No one complains about the big bridge on Road 1, though. It was paid for by the Icelandic lottery and surfaced with wood. Quite a luxury in a country that has no trees. Not many people either. Even though Iceland is 4/5 the size of England, only 250,000 people live here. Half of them in Reykjavik, the most northerly capital city in the world. It's a fairly normal-looking place, but there are reminders that it's stuck on the edge of the maddest and most bewitchingly bewildering place I've ever been to. If you're rich here, you drive a big van. If you're very rich, you get a very big van. Big vans here can even outpose an S-Class Mercedes-Benz. Here, nothing is ever how you expect it to be, which is okay because hardly anyone knows what to expect in Iceland.
In lots of countries, when I was there, especially in America, they didn't know anything. It was like, do you live in igloos? Do you have cars? Have you got electricity? Or do you live there the whole year round? Or do you move to Africa kind of thing? So it's like, you don't know anything.
Well, Americans, I mean, they didn't know that I was there recently, they didn't know that they had television in Scotland.
But do they?
Last year, 10 people died of hypothermia after falling in this lake. My dear chap, this is a snowmobile. This is a machine designed to go on water in a more solid state. What the hell are you doing taking it on a lake?
It's just for fun. We just were wondering if it should go on water, and then we tried, and it worked.
So presumably, if it works on a lake, it'll work on the sea too.
No, we have been talking about it for 5 years, that it would be fun to ride to this island with a snowmobile, just because we have been driving over small lakes and it hardly works. Then I decided why not to try, and it was just the day before I went to the lake and tried it. It worked, so then I went to the sea and tried, and it worked.
And how far was it to the island?
1.2 kilometers.
Across the sea?
Yeah, 30 meters deep.
You are a crazy guy. Nearly as crazy as me, this 180 horsepower machine has all the buoyancy of a cathedral, and I'm going to drive it on water. There are two tricks. First, no matter what, keep it on full power all the time and hope the drag doesn't kill the revs too much before you reach the beach. Second, look cool.
Gosh!
So what is it then that makes seemingly ordinary people behave so strangely? In the summer, it never really goes dark, and conversely in the winter, it never really gets light, and this, I think, does make people, without wishing to be rude, just a little bit bonkers. You see that waitress over there, the one that looks like Demi Moore? Well, earlier today, she took me on a little run out into the country.
I'm trundling along now an Icelandic back road. Sorry, I'm trundling now off an Icelandic back road. Past huge volcanoes, through seas of lava with antediluvian deposits everywhere. And we're doing, about 100. I know this is pretty abnormal to most people in the world, but in Iceland, no one seems to bat an eyelid.
My dad was racing. This one time he took me for a drive in a race car. Really fast. Took me and one of my girlfriends, and we loved it. And just 2 weeks after that, we raced together.
Dear God in heaven. This is the fastest waitress I've ever been with. Oh, not that I've been with any waitresses, you understand.
In the country, there's not much traffic on the roads we drive when we're racing, so it's easy for us to go there and practice. We maybe take 1 or 2 friends with us and, ask them to check on traffic, so we can just drive like maniacs.
Do the police know about this?
No, they don't.
They do now. In Iceland, you don't go into the interior to look at nature. You go in there to take it on. And for that, you need some serious equipment and some even more serious know-how.
We have to lower the pressure on the tires so we get a bigger footprint from the tires to drive on the snow instead of digging us through it. We go as far as down to 0.2 bar.
And then, to punish the kids for baiting the dog, you head off to catch hypothermia.
And we are planning to go up here, up the hill, and up to the highest peak of the glacier.
The cars they use start off in life as Toyotas or Jeeps or Nissans, but are converted for around £25,000 so they can move on the country's most amazing feature, its glacier, a glacier that's the size of Yorkshire. Now on snow, I always thought manual transmission was best, but apparently I'm wrong. Automatic is essential.
You always have traction to the tires. You don't have to change gears. When you drive very slowly and want to change gears, the vehicle stops. And in steep hills, you can always go slower with automatic transmission.
But you don't always need to go slowly, and they don't. This van has a 5.8-litre turbocharged engine and was built by Iceland's top off-road expert, Benny Eigil something or other.
The editor of the US four-wheeler magazines, he told in his magazine the Iceland is 4x4 Jeeps, 4x4 cars is the best snow traveling cars in the world. He have never seen nothing like this. So I'm sure we have the best car to drive on the snow.
And I was forced to agree as we bumped over cracks through which you could begin your journey to the centre of the Earth, a book which you may remember was set here. Surveys have shown the ice here is 1 kilometre thick. They have a saying in Iceland, if you don't like our weather, just wait 15 minutes. And it doesn't take long before you see what they mean. If you can imagine looking out on the world from inside a Tupperware box, you get the picture.
On a glacier like we are now, we don't see anything. We have to use our navigation system to enter the waypoint we are heading to. And now we are driving almost blindly here on the glacier, using the navigation system.
In 1991, a convoy of 850 jeeps with more than 1,000 people on board came up here. And as I sat with my fingers jammed in the heater outlets, I was wondering why. Then I found out. This huge gash in the ice was for me the biggest jewel in the toy box. And of course, the crazy Icelanders just had to go and play with it. It isn't even slightly surprising that he ended up rather chilly, but it's very surprising indeed that even for 1 minute he thought he'd be able to get out again.
I was trying to get across a little lake over there. Maybe not a lake, but I didn't have enough speed, I think. More speed was, I needed more speed. And like Titanic, it went down.
If I'd been him, I'd have demanded a hospital and some brandy. But no, he got a table made out of ice, and for lunch, some lettuce. But glacier bashing is not some hirsute macho thing. It's the perfect family day out, like something out of a yogurt commercial. You do need to be careful though, and you do need a hat.
You have to know what you're doing. Some parts of the glaciers are moving and there can be cracks which are dangerous, but you have to know the glacier. You just learn to equip yourself for this business.
It doesn't really matter whether you've chosen to get up there by land or by air. Still, the most important thing is to keep your head warm.
It's very good to be out in the open, and it's a challenge to go out in a wild weather. And the glaciers, they can be quite difficult in the January, February, March months. The weather is 10 times worse than in the lowland.
Now, they may have worked out a way to get foxes to sit on their heads, and yes, they can even drive on water, but nothing prepares you for what they can do when this happens. First, they spray lighter fluid into the tyre, and then they light it. Clever stuff. But even though they can mend a tyre in less than a second, they still hadn't reached the glacier's summit by midnight. You know, you don't have to be mad to live here. No, on second thoughts, yeah you do. Count me in.
Do you think Icelanders are a bit crazy?
A bit crazy? Not as bad as the British, though.
But you're less crazy than us?
Yeah.
We would not drive a snowmobile across the sea.
That's because you don't have the guts.
So Icelanders are braver?
Yeah, a lot braver.
We like animals. You know, in the daylights, we are having fun, partying, doing everything we like racing and jet skiing or whatever it is. But during the winter, we just stay inside, get cozy, and...
Just read a good book?
No.
The boy Hammond gets behind the wheel of a Formula 1 racing car in top gear today at 3. Next on Dave, though, hang on to your hats, because is that Caprice I see hitting the runway? It's airport.